Hi. So you may be new to this channel, or you may have seen some of my episodes here before. But in my family, we know there's a genetic predisposition towards hearing loss. And frankly, I think that's one of the biggest things as I've seen this happen in my family, especially with my mother, struggle to find a good pair of hearing aids and to manage life around her hearing loss. And then some of my other family members figuring it out for themselves. This is something I know is I'm going to have to face it at some point. And I think a lot of us as we get older are going to have to face some kind of hearing loss. I checked about 2 years ago where my hearing was. And I really wanted to understand more about how we can protect the hearing we do have right now. So that's what I really want to share with you today. How can we understand our hearing, understand that this is not just an ear problem, but a brain problem? Because as we had hearing loss, there are other things that go with it. There's isolation, there's cognitive decline, you can be depressed about it. And truly, I think there's a lot of things we can do right now, today, that can help us protect and preserve exactly what we need to do to maintain our wellness for our ears and our brain. So I'm MC, I'm a health psychologist. I have over 30 years of research, and I'm here to just share with you my own aging experience. And I hope I can bring some light to the research that's out there that's being done because I'm fascinated by research. I think what got me interested in research is that it's such a profound way to answer questions that are complicated about our bodies. So please share, please subscribe. I'd love to see you here each week. So let's talk about this hearing thing. And I think it's a pretty universal thing because hearing loss is the number third problem in health conditions as we get older. Heart disease, arthritis, hearing loss. That's what it is. So 1 in 3 adults between the ages of 64 and 74 in the United States have some type of hearing loss. That's not a small problem. That's people in your book club. That's people that you go and exercise with or perform yoga with, or people who we have Thanksgiving with. And globally, the World Health Organization estimates that about 15 to 20% of the entire world population will have some form of hearing loss. So that is about 1.5 billion people in the world. That's a lot of people who are going to have some type of hearing loss. 15%, that's about 38 to 73 million people. That's a lot. And here's what we know. Most of us don't start to notice what's happening with our hearing when it starts. It's a sneaky problem. It begins with high frequencies. So you might start having trouble hearing consonants, or some speech may sound muffled, or you'll be asking people to repeat themselves, or you'll turn up the volume a little more than you used to, or you'll struggle to hear what people are saying in noisy restaurants or noisy background. Because we're human, and because we are adapted, and because asking for help feels like admitting something's wrong, we tend to compensate. We just nod or we smile. We don't ask for people to give us what they just said again. We just try and figure out what they're saying. But here's what the science is now, a very clear perception of what happens if we ignore hearing loss. It has real consequences to your brain, to your mood, and how you have relationships. And that's really what I want to talk about before we get into what we can do. I want us to understand what it means to ignore this problem of hearing loss, because there is a definite connection between cognitive decline and dementia, because this is the one that is really what made me wake up and recognize I can't just sleep on this issue. In 2024, the Lancet Commission on Dementia, which is one of the most authoritative voices about dementia in the field, they found that hearing loss in midlife is one of the most significant modifiable risk factors for dementia. And that's the key, modifiable. And that means potentially we can do something about it within our control. A landmark study out at the University of Southern Denmark looked at over 573,000 people, the largest study of its kind, and found clear evidence that hearing loss increases dementia by 7%. That increases our risk. So researchers believe that when we start to have hearing loss, that our brain has to work harder and we have to be more mentally on cue to process sound. So we're spending enormous cognitive energy just to hear what people are saying, with a lot of energy and a lot of our cognitive functionings with memory and problem solving and attention, they all take a hit because the brain is working so hard to try and understand what the sound is we're hearing. So what I think is if you were trying to do a crossword puzzle while someone kept shouting across the room at you, eventually you stop doing the crossword puzzle, right? Because you're just getting too distracted. And our brain just feels like it gives out too. It gets redirected and stops doing the focus thing. And there's also a social piece with this. And it's very important because we know as human beings, we need to stay communicating with each other. And having hearing loss makes communication with others so hard. And I know this with my mother. Communicating with her is a challenge. So what do? I have done things like sent her video, emails, or texts because it's such a struggle to talk on the phone with her. She just can't do it really. Or it's hard for her to go to locations like the parties because there's so much background noise. And therefore, she's left out of the conversations. It's too much. It's socially difficult to know what everybody's saying, and you feel excluded. And I think that's what is the biggest thing. And it totally is a significant issue that's associated with social isolation and depression in people who are getting older. The ears, the brains, and the heart, they're all connected. That's what we know. And I'm not saying this to scare anybody. I'm saying this for myself more than anything because I know it runs in my family. It's hereditary. So here's where we can get excited. The research shows there are real evidence-based things you can do to protect your hearing, slow that age-related decline, and in some cases, meaningfully support your auditory health even now. So let's talk about it. 1, protect your ears from noise. I don't think that's too hard, but I think that unfortunately, things that show up in our world are surprisingly a problem. So what are they? When we live in a noisy place, such as New York, there's all kinds of things that are noisy. And I'm going to tell you, it is the chronic beeping of the horns. It is the construction noises that are happening. It's the constant, just overwhelming amount of sound that's happening all the time. Now, if you're living in a more rural area, not like mine, there can be leaf blowers, lawn mowers, fireworks shows where there's lots of explosions, or sporting events where there's lots of cheering or loud noises or loud music. And the goal is that if you know that you're going to be in this kind of a space and be exposed to these sounds that are typically at higher decibels, 85 or higher, that is the thing that is damaging over time. and it damages the tiny hair cells inside your cochlea. And see, I already know I'm having issues with those tiny hair cells because guess what? I had the balance issue. So I already know that the tiny hair cells are having problems. So that's what spurred me on to get a hearing test to begin with to see where I'm at. And the goal is once those tiny hair cells in our cochlea are gone, they're gone. They don't grow back. So to kind of give you some sense about this idea about decibels, a normal conversation is about 60 decibels, while a lawnmower is around 90. A rock concert is around 110 or higher. A gunshot is 140. And headphones or earbuds at full volume in our ears can hit 100 to 110 decibels. So we need to be practical, and it's called the 60-80 rule. Keep your headphone or earbuds at a volume no more than 60% of the maximum, and take a break. Take a break. If you've been using earbuds after 60 minutes, take a break. Give your ears a rest. The biggest thing for your ears is to have some time to rest and recover. Welcome in the silence. So when you're going to be someplace loud, like a ball game, or you're going to be outdoors at some kind of party like Memorial Day weekend that's coming tomorrow, a concert, a wedding reception where there's a lot of varying acoustics, bring earplugs. Not the kind that muffle everything, but things that possibly make you feel like you're dampening it. Musicians' earplugs are specifically designed to reduce volume evenly across frequencies. So you can still hear the music and the conversation. It's just a little safer. And they are very inexpensive. They only cost about $15 to $30. And they're small to keep in your bag. I know that seems a little weird or maybe uncool, but believe me, if you can somehow preserve your ears and be outdoors playing with your family, your grandchildren, and there's going to be some loud noises, it's better to be careful and not so cool than lose those little tiny hairs in your ears. And the other thing that makes me think that we can do something for our ears and protect those hair cells is to keep a steady supply of blood and oxygen to their wonderful ear and brain. So that means get the blood flowing. I've just talked about Qigong. Blood flows when you do Qigong. There's all kinds of movements where you're going down and up and around and moving the body. Hey, what better way to let the blood flow into that ear area? Sometimes just hanging over and letting your body be in a different position. We're upright all the time. In fact, research found that the physical activity may increase blood flow to the cochlear hair cells, and it helps preserve their function. So even moderate activities, walking, swimming, gardening, qigong, dancing in your kitchen, all can benefit you. And yoga, what better thing than downward dog or cat-cow? Those are wonderful things to help ourselves. And the bonus is with exercise is it reduces the further risk of the other things that cause problems, which is our cardiovascular health, arthritis, type 2 diabetes. All of these are associated with a higher rate of hearing loss. So you're getting two bangs for your buck by doing these. Plus, let's face it, walking around makes us feel good. Finally, the nutrition section. Now, this is something that makes people kind of go, what, really? Food is going to do something to help my ears? Really? Here's why. Your inner ear has an intricate blood vessels, nerve cells, and delicate hairs, all that come together to give us the right balance to hear. And if you're giving the nutrition that is needed for this environment to function, that's going to be what basically helps you overcome the cellular damage and wear and tear that happens. You have stress. Just living in the world, it's one of the primary culprits in age-related hearing loss. So, in the 2025 systematic review published in Frontiers, found that several dietary factors are significantly associated with lowering the risk of hearing loss. Healthy dietary patterns overall were good, and it reported in a 30% lower risk. And it found specifically helpful foods rich in, what do you think? Beta carotene, folate, vitamin B9, and long chain omega-3 fatty acids. And the AARP has covered their research extensively from the Brigham and Women's Hospital. And the guidance is consistent. Get these nutrients from whole foods, not supplements. So are you eating enough fish in your diet? Think about salmon, sardines. I love me some sardines twice a week. There you go, omega-3s. Dark leafy greens, your kale, your spinach, folate. And colorful vegetables and fruits, that's going to get you your carrots, your potatoes, your oranges. There's your beta carotene and antioxidants, vitamin C and E. Think of nuts and seeds for magnesium and zinc. And magnesium deserves its own moment. Researchers have found that magnesium, it helps protect against noise-induced hearing loss specifically. The Israeli military studies showed soldiers who took magnesium before training experienced significantly less hearing loss than those who didn't have magnesium-rich foods. So what is those? Bananas, dark chocolate, almonds, black beans, avocado. If those aren't already on your ghostly list and you're not eating them in your diet, add them now. And here's another thing worth taking to your doctor before starting any type of supplements. Speak to them, because many times what's in a supplement is not as good as what it would be if you're eating food first. So the final thing that helps us protect our ears is controlling your blood pressure. That's right. Hypertension, high cholesterol, all genuine risk factors for age-related hearing loss. The connection is vascular. We need better blood flow into our ears to protect those little hairs and those vessels. And if those get damaged, they're tiny, they're delicate. And the inner ear is very intricate and very vulnerable. So keeping our blood pressure and watching it daily is a very key thing to help us with our hearing loss. And another issue too, which is high blood sugar. It's one of the most commonly cited risk factors in hearing loss as well. Is because, again, this high level of sugar, it acts as a toxic kind of element within our bodies, with our cells. So managing our blood pressure, managing our sugar, all of these things contribute to damaging our hearing if we're not minding the store and getting ourselves with the best types of things to protect our heart and protect our glucose. These things are key. And I can't impress enough upon you that the final thing that you need to really understand and take seriously is to make a habit of getting your hearing checked. Make it a yearly progress where you go and you just check your hearing, because anything that's caught early, you can definitely manage it better, do better things to accommodate yourself, and slow the process down. But if it goes undetected, you're catching the problem too late. Staying on top of it is a much better way to go. And the other final thing is, in 2024, Apple released hearing health features for AirPods Pro 2 that include real-time hearing protection. AirPods Pro 2, they have real-time hearing protection, a clinical grade, at-home hearing test, and a hearing aid made for mild to moderate loss. These represent the first end-to-end consumer hearing health system approved by a regulatory body. Technology is genuinely going to be the biggest thing that can help us with this problem of hearing into the future. So, finally, I want to talk about this last study called the ACHIEVE study. It's the Aging and Cognitive Health Evaluation Study in elderly. It's the largest randomized controlled trial ever conducted on hearing aids and cognitive decline. It was funded by the NIH for aging, and it was published in the Lancet, and it found something extraordinary. In older adults aged 70 to 80 with untreated mild to moderate hearing loss, who are all increased risk for cognitive decline, but using hearing aids for just 3 years slowed that decline down by nearly half, 48%. And these individuals were at risk for cognitive decline. 3 years of 4, that's really remarkable. Recognize that hearing aids help. They help you reduce the cognitive burden on your brain. It helps reduce that background sound. It re-stimulates our auditory pathways. And they help people engage socially, which itself protects the brain. And the social piece really is very moving, especially as it was reported in the ACHIEVE study. The hearing intervention wasn't just good for cognition. It was good for loneliness. People who got hearing aids reported better social connections and less loneliness, because when you can hear, you can participate. You can stay in the room. You can be in the conversation. And that is so important, especially at family gatherings. So if you have anything going on with your hearing, please start with a hearing test. Know that hearing connects you to the world and to the people you love, to the music you enjoy, to the sound of the laughter of your grandchildren, and particularly the sound of your partner or the birds or the rain, all of these things. It makes life worth fighting for to maintain our hearing. And that's why it's so important to see an audiologist and the doctors who can help you care for your hearing. So please know you have this one precious life. Let's live it to the fullest, well into our 80s and 90s, and be the very best version of who we are. And please let me know what you think. Have you seen an audiologist? I would love to know that. I saw one 2 years ago, and this fall, I'm going to go back and have it checked to see where I stand. Be well, my friends. Please think about subscribing and share. I would love to see you here each week. I'll talk to you again. Bye-bye. So thank you so much for joining me at Healthy by George. I hope you found the information inspiring and that it encourages you on your wellness journey. Because remember, your body, your well-being are a most precious gift, and every tiny action taken daily can make a huge difference. I hope the information here is educational purposes and is not meant to replace your medical care. See your doctor and talk about what works for you. If you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Your support means the world to me, and it helps me continuing creating content that inspires and empowers you to live your best life. Goodbye for now, and join me again at the next Healthy by George.